So the blooper versus the Zen delay. This is, I know, kind of a bit of a stretch of a comparison, but the reason I wanted to talk about these two is because I interchangeably use these a lot in my studio, mainly because the Zen delay is an incredible, playable, and just amazing sounding delay. I recommend it all the time. I still do, and I love it. And the blooper is a weird looper that I use as a delay because there's that weird kind of like delay hack, if you will, of how you can use this thing as a looper or as a delay, I should say. So I kind of wanted to compare the two because if you're looking at a Zen, this might be another alternative for something that you might be interested in, and vice versa. If you're looking at the blooper, the Zen delay is something that you might be interested in. So yeah, I wanted to go through some of the sounds, some of the functionality, the practical uses, and some of the most important things, which I think is the uniqueness of each of them. Oh, and by the way, today's video is sponsored by NordVPN, but more on them later. So this is the track I'm working on now with no delay whatsoever on the chord stabs. Right, just this part. If I turn on the blooper is weird because it's a looper, so you need to set the loop point, and this will act as your delay time. So I'll say, right, it caught a loop, but if you leave it in record or overdub mode with your repeats down, it'll start fading out of that recorded loop. It's almost like a tape loop with the feedback not being fully forever, if that makes any sense. But what's cool here is I have two mod modes down here on the bottom. So I have my filter, which is something that the Zen delay also has, and I love leaving it here in this bandpass mode because that's how I use the Zen delay. So now let's kind of listen to some of the Zen delay. There's a lot more that the blooper can do that I'll get to in a sec, but I kind of want to jump over to the Zen because you'll immediately hear a difference. At least I think you will. Nothing. This is the Zen. Same thing. I use the cutoff the same way I was using the cutoff here. Of course, you got resonance control, which you don't have on here. I got a delay time control, which you don't have on here either. You kind of do if you reset the loop point, but that's one of the cons or pros, depending on how you want to see it, because I kind of see it as a pro. You know, I'll go ahead and just jump straight to that. The reason I think that not having a delay time control on the blooper and forcibly setting the loop point and then just leaving it makes me make mistakes less when recording, because the way I like using delays like this and any effects like this, really, I kind of talked about it in this video where I talk about using external effects with things like Ableton Live. If I have less things to kind of fiddle around with that make such drastic changes, the better my tracks sound, because sometimes on something like this, I'll be doing this and it's like, whoa, dude, you're doing too much, right? But if I can find a sweet spot and then just play with the cutoff, right? Or let's say, it's not so drastic, not so crazy. And that's kind of what I do on the blooper, which is now we're listening to the blooper. So listen to this. One thing I absolutely love about the blooper is that when you go and set it in this delay mode where it's constantly recording over itself, and the repeats will continue on as many times as you set the repeat knob to, you can change this to either normal mode or additive mode. And that means that these effects on modulation A and modulation B, if you have them turned on, and depending on what switch they're on, as well as stability, will re-record the sound through those modifiers into the loop. So the best way to hear this is by doing something I love doing on the blooper, which is turning on and off modulation A on a chromatic pitched up sample. Sounds crazy, but listen to this. You hear it's like, watch, we'll turn the repeats way up. So I'm just turning it on and off. If we didn't have this set and we just had it in normal mode and I turn that on, it just turns the delay signaled up a little bit. And what normal mode is doing is it's grabbing all the repeats, it's doing all the delays, and it's passing through stability and the two modifiers after it starts repeating and stuff, versus repeating, passing through those, and getting re-recorded. It's just kind of like, think of it as an external effect, just chilling on the back end, as opposed to on the front end of the looper. I hope that makes sense. So I really like it in additive mode because you can then turn up the stability, which almost acts as an LFO to the pitch and the movement of whatever you're recording. Again, if we go and listen to this, and it'll start slowly, constantly changing the sample. Watch. I'm gonna turn stability way up. Hear that? And in a way, this is kind of what I want to achieve on the Zen delay. Listen to that. Now it's speeding up. In a way, this is what I want to achieve with the Zen delay, with the delay time, but it's so touchy. And I wish you had an LFO on here. You don't have an LFO on either of them. But in a weird way, the stability almost acts as an LFO, modifying the pitch, but just by a few cents, not by like entire semitones or anything like that. And then the fact that that gets re-recorded, it'll record up 5 semitones, and then the next time around, the stability is now moved down into like a -10 semitones. It starts adding all this weird movement. Between the two, they do have a ton of crossover points, but you can clearly hear, at least to me, I love using the blooper in more of that, for the lack of a better term, lo-fi mode, right? Where it's just kind of doing this like degradation and kind of pulling the sample apart, where the Zen delay can sound really, really clean. And on top of that, the Zen delay also has a bunch more delay types: tape, tape ping pong, digital ping pong, and a digital, and a vintage. Don't ever go to the vintage. Oh my God, it's awful. Here, I'll flip to it. You know, I'm gonna take my headphones off for this because it's that bad. I heard that. Here, I am so glad I didn't have my headphones on, and I lowered it in peak. It's extreme, or I lowered it in post. It's extremely, extremely loud. Don't ever do it to yourself. And I guess another benefit of the Zen is that you can go into delay off mode and just have a filter cut off, which is actually kind of cool because then I can run the blooper into the Zen delay. Yo, I think I just cracked the code. That's what I got to do. Why am I even doing this video? I could just use them both. So yeah, with the sound differences aside, I find the Zen is a lot cleaner. I find the blooper to be a little grungier, a little dirtier. Oh, and I guess for the sake of it as well, I have the Zen just going in mono mode as well as the blooper, but the Zen, I do have the ability to go full stereo mode, left in, left out, right out. But on the blooper, it's just mono only. It will sum a stereo signal to mono, but you're still kind of just stuck with mono with the single out as well. So with that aside, I do want to talk about some of the practical differences between the two, of course, size and things like that, but the playability of both of these, which I find is extremely different for different reasons, but also better on the Zen, but kind of cooler on the blooper, but you can't do as much. There's like a couple different things that I want to talk about, as well as the most important detail when deciding between these two and whether or not I'm using one or the other, because I rarely use them both at the same time, when honestly, I should have been doing that from the start. But before we get into those, let me give a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, NordVPN. I know what you're thinking. NordVPN, that internet company routing VPN thing. Yeah, them. They're today's sponsor because I absolutely love using their product and I use it every day. What's a VPN, you might ask? Long story short, it's a way for your device to connect to the internet through a couple different servers that disguise or hide your computer from companies trying to track you, see your every move, access your habits, and then sell you stuff on the back end of your online behavior. And I know you're not doing anything illegal, but all that stuff I just said sounded sketchy to me. So back in 2019, I went on the hunt and I found NordVPN to help solve those issues. NordVPN is an incredible, simple, and easy way for you to finally get back some of your privacy while online. It's super easy to use with a one-click option to connect, or you can be like me and enable auto connect so you never have to worry about it. I have it on all my devices, even on my iPad and phone. Plus, NordVPN has over 5,100 servers in 60 different countries, so you can use it globally, which is a big plus in case you're in the UK trying to access some show that's only streaming in the US. Just click to connect in the US. It's that easy. So if you've ever been looking for a serious and affordable VPN, I'd suggest you go check out NordVPN. Go to nordvpn.com/RickyTinez to get the exclusive NordVPN deal and a free gift to celebrate NordVPN's birthday with a 2-year purchase. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. All right, let's get back into it. So the practical differences, like I just said, the Blooper's way smaller, the Zen's way bigger. The Zen, I think, is like a $609. I think that's adjusted for all the wildness that's going out in the world right now. The Blooper's still $499. They're both pretty expensive for a delay pedal. But I think I've never had a delay that I've loved this much. And I can say that for both of these because they are pretty different. And that's kind of the other thing I wanted to talk about, which is the practical differences between the two. Because if we listen to the Zen, I have so much I can do on here, right? I have my cutoff. I got 3 different filter modes. Resonance. I leave it in bandpass. That's kind of my world. I also have an overdrive, so let's say we turn feedback down. And that drive is also post dry wet knob, so it doesn't really matter what you do, it's just overdrive in general. Sounds really good on drums, by the way, but I don't have any drums to run it through. So cool, you got a filter, you get to play with that a little bit. You got some overdrive, you got filter modes, delay modes, pretty sweet. What do you get on the Blooper? The Blooper right now, you get the 2 modifiers which have 3 different modes each, which you can customize as well. So I have one in the chromatic pitch mode, and then my mode 6 on B is going to be the filter. To the right is a high pass, to the left is a low pass. If I play this back again real quick, you'll hear that it gets pretty bassy, which is kind of why I leave the filter mode on. So in a way, I almost only have one modifier left because this modifier is always set to filter because I want to shave off the really heavy, dirty low end because that starts to distort pretty bad. Even on the Zen, that's why I always leave it on the bandpass. It's not as bad on the Zen, but on the Blooper, it can start to get kind of muddy down at the lower end. So I usually leave this around right here. And then this is kind of a pain, but I've gotten used to it. There's no dry wet on the Blooper. There's a dry kill switch on the back with all the dip switches, but what you do have is just general volume for the effect. And that's gonna be here under the volume button or the ramp knob, the volume knob, sorry. But with that, you get repeats in your filter. And then stability. And this is probably my favorite thing. And I wish that the Zen just had an LFO, like a sample and hold with a little bit of a slew on it. Right, because this just sounds so cool. Right? What does this sound like? Right, and if I wanted to reset this, I'll just hit them both, clear the loop, and then I want to do a faster loop. And then do that weird little glitchy. Turn the volume down on this. I can't do any of that on the Zen. So in a weird way, the Blooper and the Zen are almost equally playable for completely different reasons. And I think that that brings it on to my final point that I wanted to make between these two. And I think it's the most important, is its uniqueness. This is just going on forever. Both of these are so unique. Like, the Zen is just this creamy, delicious, amazing thing. Like, if I took this, I'm using the peak, by the way, on this patch, but if I just took this chords out, and this chord out, this chord out, and this chord out, and this chord out. That sounds like the vocal sample to the song. And this chord out, and this chord out. Here. All right, check this out. Listen to this. I'm gonna turn the feedback up, delay time up. Even if you wanted this to be texture, you just turn the wet all the way up, right? Forget the dry. Right, so see, there's a lot of gap, right? This is where the Zen really shines. Listen to this. You can just really let it ride out. Like, it will go into this literal Zen mode where the delay just chills like this. And I can pull it all the way into self-oscillation and then dial it back. Anywhere between 12 and 3 o'clock, I find it's kind of or infinite mode. It doesn't start self-oscillating. And then the filter is post-delay, which is probably one of the best decisions they could have ever done. Listen to this. One time I left this on, went somewhere, like to the grocery store, came back, and this was just going and shaking my entire house because I didn't realize I left the feedback just a little too high, that I turned everything off. I thought the audio was off, and I left, and over time it just turned into this giant like 4K full sub Windows shaking for like 30 minutes straight. No neighbors called me. I love all of them. Thank you for not doing that, which was hilarious. That was at my old place though. But yeah, the Zen delay is just so good. But I think you might be able to get closer to the Zen delay sound with other delays, and it'll be almost impossible to get to this weird blooper type sound with other delays. So I think if I have to give it up to uniqueness, the Blooper to me is the most unique out of these two, with the Zen kind of edging it out in terms of playability because of all the control you have over the filter, over the resonance, the filter types, the delay modes. Like if you were to run this in stereo as well, you got the ping pong delay, the digital ping pong delay, digital mode, and number 6 called vintage, aka don't ever switch it to this mode. And then the 2 different distortions, right? And it has a tube drive in it. So it's really difficult to pick these two, but I'm hoping that with us talking about it, if you're considering the Zen, hoping that it could do something more like the Blooper, that I've been able to shine some light on it. And if you're thinking about the Blooper trying to be this weird looper delay pedal, that you might consider the Zen doing something that's what you wanted. More of, more delay, less instability, right? It's funny that this is called stability when it's unstable. Instability? Not sure the proper terminology there, but anyway, I'm gonna go back to the one that I've been using lately the most, which is gonna be the Blooper. Let's see. Blooper on, Zen off. I want to set my loop point a little longer. Dun, dun, dun. I always try to set these weird ones. It's kind of hard to do, but out. Let's say we wanted to go to a breakdown, right? I mean, come on. Come on, that was chef's kiss, right? Say we wanted to go back into that. Yes, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, again, shout out NordVPN for sponsoring the video. I hope you found something helpful with this. This is not sponsored by these companies at all, just NordVPN. So I appreciate them for continuing to help support the channel and continuing to let me do what I love to do. Hope to see you again next week. Hope you got something out of this, like I said. And yeah, until next week, you're another drill, my friend. Share the love, share the knowledge. Knowledge is power. Peace.